deeply believe that our culture, our cultural heritage is a huge resource that we have. Why I say resource? Because it is also source of inspiration. It is source of creativity. It is learning from the founding fathers. It is learning from so many generations before. It is getting inspiration for so many artists, scientists that have made Europe such a formidable place on the globe, and sort of continue to journey not just as a sort of fortress Europe, but rather as an open space, as Europeans, but cosmopolitan Europeans who are taking responsibility in the world of today, and in a way providing the necessary cultural leadership that the entire world today needs from Europe to take. We are living a crisis of trust, a crisis of confidence between the citizens and politicians, the political leaders, but also sort of confidence in ourselves, in a way, lack of trust and confidence in ourselves. And I must say that I am very, very surprised, and sometimes I can get angry when I hear about the low turnout at European elections. When you think how much we have fought we and people, generations before us, have fought to achieve the standard of living and the level of respect of rights, human rights in Europe, and also to gain the right, to have the right to go and vote and cast your vote, to say what you think. Did you simply stay at home, and did you not have the feeling of responsibility that you have that right, and that you have to use that right in a most constructive way? Why I get angry? Perhaps I get angry because I come from the Balkans. And when I was growing up there as a sort of optimistic, enthusiastic young European, I never thought that my country will end up going through a very, very, very difficult times, and sort of that war will be back and in our territory, will back in our life. And that's why now that I live in Western Europe and live in the Netherlands, and with all the sort of all the prosperity, how we have crises, it is true, but at the same time you have to put things into perspective. So yes, I understand the anger of young people and the fear of young people, because many people cannot find a job. But at the same time, I cannot understand that the reaction to that is saying, I'm not going to go to vote because I do not trust the politicians. You are our citizens, and you have to sort of grasp the opportunities that are given, and as citizens we have to take part in that process, and it's our responsibility, not just their responsibility. So this is in fact the very dangerous moment we are living now. This indeed, that we are facing some kind of disengagement of citizens, and in particularly of the younger generation. And we have to do everything possible is to sort of reshuffle and indeed to find a way. And that's why, again, we are coming back to this, why this whole process of new narrative is important. Because it's a question to find a way to inspire. It's a question of inspiration. It is a question of motivation. It is also the question to feeling that there is hope. And the problem is that nowadays the political leaders are using too much the narratives and the language which is making you being afraid. We all are in the spiral of negative communication, and we are hearing only about disasters. We are hearing about things that do not function well, and at some stage you start doubting that it can ever be better. But if the founding fathers would have behaved like that, so we would not be here when we are today. So it is essential sort of to say, yes, we are aware that we are in crisis, but yes, at the same time, we are confident that with the skills, the talents, with the cultural resources, with the young generation, which is well educated, and we have to continue investing in culture and education, not cutting in education and culture. The moment we start cutting in culture and education, we will have less resources to find a way out of the crisis that we find ourselves. So we have to use these resources to give a new drive, to give a new momentum. Of course, if we think about the future, we have to think about the future. The present is a very challenging present, and we can get frightened a little bit about what is the future going to look like. But I personally, when we look where do we come from, and if we think from what tragedy Europe has come out in 45, and where Europe is today at the beginning of the 21st century, I simply cannot think about the future of Europe which is not a peaceful and prosperous future of Europe. I would say we do not have a choice, and in a way we do not have the right to think in a different way about the future of Europe. But of course, we can't take it for granted. I believe that we have every reason to believe that we can go out of the current crisis, and that we can enter a phase of new renaissance, a new renaissance of Europe. It has happened many times in the history of Europe. Why can't we not imagine that the 21st century will be yet another of a century of a renaissance in Europe? But it requires visionary leadership. It requires engagement of each and every European citizen. It requires responsibility, a high sense of responsibility. It requires a sense of pride of what we have achieved, but also a sense of responsibility for the future generations, that every generation has to brings its own contribution to that process. So in spite of all, what perhaps make us sometimes think of doom scenarios, I never think of doom scenario when I think about the future of Europe. And I'm all the time thinking, myself and the people around me, how can we all together contribute to make the best of this most extraordinary achievement that Europeans together did in the 20th century, that it continues and that it inspires the rest of the world.